F1 Manager 2024 grid changes every race for Season 2, Round number 5, the 2025 Belgian Grand Prix. Yes, we are here in Belgium for Round 5 of the season, and these are the drivers for this race. Bottas and Ocon at Williams. We've got Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz at Audi. George Russell and Lewis Hamilton at Alpine. Liam Lawson and Nico Hülkenberg are my two drivers at RB. Charles Leclerc and Daniel Ricciardo are at Haas. Get on to the next half. We've got Max Verstappen and Yuki Tsunoda at Mercedes, Zhou Guanyu and Sergio Perez at Aston Martin, Alexander Albon and Oscar Piastri at Ferrari, Fernando Alonso and Stoffel Van Dorn at McLaren, and Pierre Gasly and Lance Stroll at Red Bull, the bottom two in the championship, both on 10 points. So some interesting lineups there. Alonso and Van Dorn back at McLaren with each other. That's a pretty interesting one from back in the day. Also, you know, Verstappen and Tsunoda in real life are now teammates at Red Bull. They're teammates at Mercedes for this race. Now, we're actually going to do our first research of the season, because I feel like I didn't do research early enough last season, because, you know, Williams ended up being pretty low down on the pecking order last year. So we're going to do a bit more of that this season. And then for our race targets, even though we apparently have like the 9th and 10th fastest drivers slash car on the grid, so like the 5th fastest, it's still saying that 16th is like the best possible result. So we're going to go for that because we should be able to get it. And looking at R&D, there aren't really any changes at all going into this race. If anything, Williams have slightly downgraded. Audi's a little bit more upgraded a little bit. Haas also a little bit too. Maybe a little bit for Ferrari there as well. But nobody's actually swapped positions on R&D. Now getting into Q1 here, and we have both cars currently running around. Nico Hülkenberg here in our RB, going up Eau Rouge through Radion, and yeah, see how we go. We've gone from having two very good drivers in Leclerc and Russell last time out to, Lawson is a rookie this season. This is his first season in this game of ours. And Nico Hülkenberg, who is of course a good driver. Big shocks out in Q1 though. Oscar Piastri in the Ferrari and Lance Stroll in the Red Bull, both out in Q1. It's actually 5 different teams. Williams, Red Bull, Haas, Audi and Ferrari all out in Q1. So that's a little bit of a shock there, to be honest with you. Especially for Piastri and Stroll in, 2, 3 of the fastest cars on the grid, like the first and third fastest cars on paper out in Q1. Big shock for them. We're now in Q2 after the first lot of runs. We're actually sitting 3rd and 4th, so had some good first laps for our drivers, and they will improve a little bit, or at least Hülkenberg will here on his second flying lap of Q2. As he comes to the end of the lap in a moment here, we do end up getting both drivers through. Big shock in this one is Max Verstappen in the Mercedes is out of qualifying. Only P11. He gets out qualified by Yuki Tsunoda. He's out along with Bottas, Sainz, Zhou and Russell. So another 5 different teams out again, which means that the only teams with both drivers in Q3 are McLaren and RB. We have both of our drivers through. McLaren's the only other team to have both their drivers through to Q3. And as we now look at this final Q3 lap here, the fastest lap this is Liam Lawson, because I slightly screwed up with Hülkenberg. I left him a little bit too long to go out and do another lap. So although he's currently sitting P5, he crosses the line about 6-7 seconds after the checkered flag had come out. I just sent him out too late, and yeah, unfortunately he doesn't get another lap to get a quicker lap in, which means that we're following Lawson here because he does get a quicker time here. Currently sitting P6, just a little bit behind Hülkenberg, but he will put in a better lap here. He's green through sector 1 as Albon goes a little bit quicker, splits my two drivers, but Leclerc in 8th, he's just behind as well, putting a good time in that Haas. But as Lawson now comes to the end of Sector 2, it's a lot of straights, a lot of power for the rest of this lap in Sector 3. Currently, Gasly sitting on provisional pole in the Red Bull with Alonso behind, and then Van Dorn 1,000th of a second behind his teammate. Ridiculously close at the moment there between those guys. Van Dorn crosses the line, does not go any quicker. Same for Gasly, he is still on provisional pole. And as Lawson comes to the end of his lap here, to the line he goes. He puts it P4. It is an improvement for Lawson. So he'll be starting P4. Great result for him. And even only doing one lap, Hulkenberg in 6th, I think is very good. And it is Gasly alongside Alonso on the front grid. But yeah, Liam Lawson on the second row of the grid. Very happy with that. Towards the back there, 9th and 10th, Leclerc and Hamilton in the Alpine. Getting through to Q3. Big thing for him and Alpine, but yeah, only P10 for him. Yuki Tsunoda P7, out qualifying Max Verstappen here in Belgium. So let's get into this race.
Well, it's a fantastic turnout, as it always is here in Belgium, as we prepare for 44 laps around Spa.
Motor car racing didn't have the best of starts at Spa-Francorchamps. Only one driver registered for the very first car race back in 1921, so a motorbike race replaced it instead. Times have changed, and now Spa is a solid fixture on the F1 calendar.
Spa-Francorchamps is famous for its long straights and fast corners. Drag efficiency will make all the difference here as drivers zoom through the famous sequence of Eau Rouge leading up into Raidillon. But a twisty middle sector keeps things tricky down on the track. Well, there's nothing quite like it. Welcome along to race day.
Right, here's the strategy. As you can see, intermediate tyres in the middle there because there is rain forecast for the middle of this race. It's going to be dry at the start, it's going to dry up at the end, but it is going to be wet supposedly in the middle. So at the moment we've got a soft into soft strategy. We'll see how that goes for us.
Final checks are being carried out by the teams, and it won't be long until we get this race underway.
They're at a real disadvantage as they begin in 19th. How much can they recover over the course of the race?
And the time has come. Let's go racing. Get ready. It's the Belgian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Here we go, Belgian Grand Prix underway. Gasly from pole position. Alonso was pointing towards him into turn 1. He goes for the move up the inside, pushes Gasly off the track, and that's going to make Gasly lose another position to Lawson. Lawson is up to P2. It's been a great start for my driver. Van Dorn down to 3rd, but it is Fernando Alonso leading the way in the McLaren. But Lawson here is in a McLaren sandwich, going to the inside, maybe to look at a move on Alonso, maybe just to defend from Van Dorn. We'll see into this next corner, and yeah, he's actually just trying to defend from Van Dorn, but in the end has too much pace. Van Dorn is now up to 2nd, Lawson pushed down to 3rd. Now the two McLarens getting a little bit racy at the front. Gasly's had a terrible start to this race. He's down to 6th position from pole position, not the start he would have wanted, and now Lawson's starting to fall back. As Gasly gets ahead of Hulkenberg, Perez gets past Lawson, and now Hulkenberg back past Gasly once again. There's a lot going on this first lap here. Now Hulkenberg is right on the tail of Lawson, so my two teammates are potentially going to start fighting each other now, which we don't want, but for now we just got to let them keep racing and let them go. I think Hulkenberg's going to be the quicker driver, but of course had that slight mess up by myself in qualifying. Perez then loses out once again to Lawson, but then Tsunoda has gone off the track running wide, so I don't think he's crashed. He's run wide here after a great qualifying result for him. He literally goes into the barrier. I don't know what the hell was going on there, but that is big disappointment for Yuki Tsunoda after beating Verstappen in qualifying. Now my two teammates fighting each other a little bit, but actually Hulkenberg losing out there to Gasly for P5, so bit of a battle going on there between those guys, and eventually Gasly will also get past Lawson. Now we're actually looking at that move from Gasly on Lawson. Here he goes up the inside into turn 1, later on the brakes. Nice move up the inside there. Pretty easy one for Gasly. He should be further up the grid. He just had a terrible start from pole position to P6 in one sector. Don't know how the hell that happened for him, but now he's going to try and start pulling away, as Alonso still leads this race with Van Dorn right behind him. They have actually been swapping, and as you can see now, lap 7, Van Dorn is now in the lead. It's constantly swapping between those two with who has the DRS. Now my two teammates are fighting each other, and Hulkenberg has got past Lawson, so now Hulkenberg is the lead RB driver. At the front, lap 8, and these two McLarens still fighting each other. Perez, though, now catching up, and Gasly's caught up to this fight as well. So now it is a 4-way fight for the lead. But this time, Van Dorn gets past Alonso to retake the lead of this race. Stoffel Van Dorn leading a race for McLaren. That is a big thing there, as we accidentally just pause the screen there. I think that was me trying to get a screenshot for the thumbnail. But yeah, Gasly now also up to P3, so he's recovered a little bit. Alexander Albon working up from a not amazing qualifying, just got himself past Charles Leclerc in the Haas, so Albon is now up to P7, but he's got a big train of Leclerc, Hamilton and Verstappen all behind him here, looking to shape a move down this next straight, and sure enough, Charles Leclerc is going to try and get that move back on Albon straight away. Up the inside, it's 2x2, Leclerc and Albon with Hamilton and Verstappen, the age-old rivalry, but this time it's Verstappen in a Mercedes and Hamilton in an Alpine, of all things, doing a great job in that Alpine, which is not a good car, let's just say that. I think they might even be, have they scored? They might, I can't remember if they have. I don't think they've scored any points so far this season. Or maybe they have, I can't remember, to be honest, but it's definitely not a great car. Things are just getting worse and worse for Yuki Tsunoda as he completely outbrakes himself and smashes into the back of one of the Audis. I believe that was Valtteri Bottas. Perhaps, oh no, I think it was Lando Norris actually. It was Lando Norris in the other Audi that he just crashes into the back of. So things not going well for Tsunoda. Perez is the first one to take the gamble when the rain starts coming down. Not really a gamble, but is the first one to go onto a set of intermediate tyres. The rain is here now. It's not super heavy, but it is just slowly getting heavier, and he is the first one to come in for those intermediate tyres. Next lap around, we're going to send Hulkenberg in, but we're going to leave Lawson out just for one more lap. Track conditions are now damp, so that tells me that it is definitely now time, which means Lawson is potentially going to lose some time here. But we'll see where Hulkenberg comes out. He actually comes out ahead of Perez, so despite Perez, maybe Perez went one lap too early onto those inters, because we've actually managed to do an overcut on Sergio Perez. Liam Lawson unfortunately has fallen back to P10. It didn't really work staying out one extra lap, but we would have lost just as much time, if not maybe more, by double stacking. Perez does eventually manage to get back past Hulkenberg as well, so yeah, I think that battle will continue on, but he is now ahead of us. At the front though, and Gasly has now caught up to Fernando Alonso, who was in the lead, but now Pierre Gasly finally, after 13 laps, returns to the lead of this race. The Red Bull driver back into P1 now. And we now have a look at his teammate, Lance Stroll, who is last in the championship and is going to continue that way, I think, because he gets smacked off the road by, I believe, that is Zhou Guanyu in the Aston Martin, who just outbraked himself. And to be fair, that actually wasn't really Lance Stroll's fault at all. Bit of a passenger there on the outside. Don't know if there's any damage, but yeah, that's pretty much ruined his race. But I don't think he was in the points anyway, because he had a terrible qualifying. At the front, and now it's back to the two McLarens leading once again. Alonso from Van Dorn. Van Dorn trying to get past his teammate, but very difficult here, especially now that it's raining and there is no DRS anymore. Makes it a lot more difficult. Now Nico Hulkenberg still battling it out with Checo here. Checo Perez. Once again, Hulkenberg gets back past Perez. So there we go, makes that move back up to 4th position. But it's just a constant back and forth between these two at the moment. Albon trying to now get past Hamilton, who actually was benefited massively from the rain. He obviously just came in at the right time, because he's now up to was P6 ahead of Albon. It's now P7. He's still fighting though with Albon over that P6 position. They are side by side, nothing at all to separate them. Leclerc and Verstappen still right there behind. These guys have been kind of a group of 4 this whole race so far. Yeah, just absolutely battling it out. Hamilton manages to get ahead of Albon. Will Albon try anything into the final chicane? No, he won't. If anything, though, it is Leclerc and Verstappen who are side by side, and Verstappen manages to get past Leclerc in the Mercedes. Once again, looking at the battle between Perez and Hulkenberg for P4. A very late move to the inside there, but a beautiful textbook overtake for Sergio Perez to get back up into P4 once again. But yeah, like I said, these guys are just swapping back and forth their positions at the moment. Now Verstappen behind Hamilton. So these guys managed to get past Albon, who's fallen back a little bit. They've now gotten out of DRS range, although DRS isn't available yet, of Charles Leclerc. And now it's back to Verstappen versus Hamilton. These guys have had a great little battle this race, and Verstappen this time manages to get past Hamilton up into P6. So he'll be happy with that after his poor qualifying. Now, at the front once again, Van Dorn leading the way. Alonso goes wide into, I think that's like turn 6. So Alonso starting to struggle here in these wet conditions. I thought he would be the one out of the two McLarens to be, to be making the moves here. Sure enough, though, a couple of laps later, he is going to try and make the move up the inside of his teammate, Stoffel Van Dorn. And side-by-side action, great racing between these two here. He does just about manage to get past. Although we do then cut away to Liam Lawson, who's now trying to fight his way back through the order after taking that slightly later than optimal pit stop onto the inters. He's now got past Charles Leclerc, and I believe is up into P9. At the front, again, Alonso there, but we're actually now going to have a look at a replay from Fernando Alonso, who spins at the final corner, loses 2 positions, has now been knocked down to P3, pretty quickly gets back ahead of Van Dorn into P2, but is now 3 seconds behind race leader now, Pierre Gasly. The battles continue, even though Lawson got past Leclerc fairly easily earlier on, he's now come back at him and has actually managed to get back past Lawson again. So that's now Liam Lawson back down to P10. Perez and Hulkenberg swapping positions on the timing tower there as well. But that's just been happening constantly throughout these last few laps. Lawson will now try and go back up the inside of Leclerc, but cannot make the move at the moment, so has to settle for P10 for now. But we're going to come in first with Lawson. He will be the first one onto a set of soft tyres, so he may have been too late coming in last time out, but I think this time it's actually going to work out for him, because as we came into the pits, the track was declared dry. So I think we've pretty much done it perfectly with Lawson. Oscar Piastri not having a perfect race, hasn't been running that well anyway, but now has damage after contact with, I'm not even sure who that was, but yeah, contact for Piastri in the Ferrari. That's going to really stuff him over. Hulkenberg's then going to come in for his change onto the soft compound tyres. Another good pit stop by the team. Very good pit stops from this team this race, and he's going to hopefully not lose a position there. He does unfortunately lose a lot of time to Perez, so that battle is pretty much done. And now it's time for Lawson to fight his way back through, see how high he can get. He gets past Lewis Hamilton up to P9 on lap 39. Can he get any further? We'll have to wait and see. Probably not, because next lap around, or even at the end of that same lap, Hulkenberg throws one up the inside of Lawson at the chicane, kind of barges him out of the way and gets up back into P9. So I think it's going to be a battle for P9 between Lawson and Hamilton, because there's now a 4-second gap to Leclerc in 8th. At the front, the two McLarens still fighting it out. Van Dorn now taking the lead. Gasly just side by side with Alonso now to get up into P2. It's all going down to the wire here. It's looking like a 3-car battle for the win here. And on lap 43 of 44, the penultimate lap, Van Dorn leads the way. It's Gasly in second, but Alonso's come up the inside of Gasly for P2. And he's going to try and get Van Dorn for P1 as well. It is a double overtake for Fernando Alonso into turn 5, I think that is, and he's now up back into the lead again. Can he hold on for the final lap? Lawson and Hamilton will also battle on this penultimate lap for 9th position. Lawson will get himself up into 9th, so now he will just have to try and hang on for one more lap to get that 2 points.
Fernando Alonso comes home first.
You can't say they didn't earn it. They put in an amazing performance today.
And Fernando Alonso does manage to take the win in the end. He had a wide moment, he had a spin, but he still managed to win this race. It's a McLaren 1-2 with Stoffel Van Dorn getting, I believe, his first podium in Formula 1. And Pierre Gasly, unfortunately, could only finish third in the end, but he did at least manage to get back up there from his terrible start. Hulkenberg ended up 5th. Liam Lawson ended up 9th, so it's double points for the team. Unfortunately, for some reason, after the race, it didn't show the podium. It just kind of showed, the RB, showed like Liam Lawson and RB, my team. It didn't actually show the proper podium for some reason. I don't know why that is. But anyway, that is what it is. Perez ended up 4th in the end, Albon 6th, then Verstappen, Leclerc, of course, Lawson 9th, and Hamilton 10th, picking up 1 point for Alpine. So he'll be happy with that. Alpine will be happy with that. We'll have to see. I think they have scored a few points so far this season, but they'll be very happy with another 1. And in the Drivers' Championship, Fernando Alonso now leads the way, although is joint on points, 37 points with Valtteri Bottas also up there. Nico Hulkenberg up to 3rd as well. And last in the championship, yes, it is still Lance Stroll, doesn't score any points on only 10 points. Now, still only on 10 points and in last in the championship, so he's not having a particularly good time. And then in the Constructors' Championship, McLaren are still away at the front and actually pull away quite a bit. 43 points, almost max points for them. And Alpine do pick up 1 extra points to be in P8, on to 5 points now. And actually at the bottom, Williams and Audi both haven't scored yet, but now Williams are ahead of Audi in 9th position because they have had a slightly better non-point scoring finish. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.